Hello and welcome everyone to Flicker Effect episode 222. We're recording this on Sunday, July 9th, 2017. I'm David Lott. Joining me this week is Bobby Jackson.
Hey everybody.
Yasha Wilson.
Hey out there.
And Michelle Curry.
Hi everyone. Hello.
What's up, guys? How's it going?
What's up with you? What's up with you?
11 days till Comic-Con. That's what's up with me.
11 days to
11 days.
Comic-Con. 11 days to Comic-Con. 11 days to Comic-Con.
What, the schedule's all out right now?
Yet?
Sadly, I have not really even looked at it. It's really pathetic. Yeah, I know. I suck.
I'm sad for you.
Trust me.
I say that and I haven't looked at it either.
I was going to say, did you look at it, Michelle?
You knew you could call her out on that.
Nope.
Nope.
I'm the only one.
I still I think I talked about this last time. I like when after the 4 days are all released and they put out that table version. For some reason, I like perusing that version of it. I find it easier to look at.
The table.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I can see that because you can kind of look at, yeah.
Sure, there's no descriptions on it. So you end up going, oh, this title, what is that? And you go look at the descriptions.
Just open another tab.
But I don't know. I just like the spreadsheet table, whatever you want to call that version of it.
Charts and graphs.
Charts of rooms.
What I usually do now is I'll just go and click on the room, and then it'll show you that room for the 4 days.
That's a good idea. I've done that too. It's a good idea.
And I only click on Ballroom 20 and Hall H because those are usually
Those
the
are the
two
rooms.
places
Really,
you'll
the only
find.
ones I care about. Not really
Come
room.
on.
Poop on every other room that's there. I don't care about that.
That's the in-between stuff, if I can make it.
I understand. Priorities.
Exactly. So you all planned out, Bobby, like ready to go for your whole 4 days?
I mean, pretty much. There's still some, I guess, other things to work out. But as far as knowing what I want to see, yeah, I've got that all kind of figured out at this point. I haven't actually looked at Sunday, but typically Sunday is just sort of a free-for-all kind of day where I'll either walk the floor if I haven't had a chance to walk it that much during the week, or I'll end up going downtown and doing some of the other events that I didn't get a chance to do during the week. And then there might be a panel or two that I might want to catch on a Sunday, but that Sunday is just sort of kind of a catch-up day for me usually.
Yeah, I find Sundays usually a walk the floor. And especially if you're the kind of person that stays there really late, you can get some good deals on the floor on Sunday.
Yeah, that's very true.
But a lot of those deals don't pop up until like the second half of the day or the last couple hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And usually people want less stuff to have to load back on to their vehicles or planes and stuff and go home. So they definitely are looking to wheel and deal within the last couple hours of the con.
Yeah, that's nice. All right, well, let's just get right into this. A little movie came out this weekend. That movie was Spider-Man: Homecoming. What was that box office?
Goddamn right.
What was that box office like, huh?
Yeah, actually, I'm kind of curious.
Oh, you haven't heard yet, have you?
I have not.
Oh, any guesses, Michelle?
Oh my God!
Come on.
I feel like at this point, I'm either gonna way undershoot it or way overshoot it. So I kind of feel stupid.
So let's think about it. What was Wonder Woman's opening weekend? It was like 104. Am I right? Am I guessing correctly?
106, somewhere around
103. There. It was 103.251.
Okay.
So yeah, 104. So you can gauge from that. What do you think of Michelle?
Well, before you had said the one woman thing, I was gonna say 110.
Okay. Are you changing your mind?
And at this point, I'm just gonna go with 110. I have no idea.
That's not a bad guess. It's 117.
Oh my Lord! Are you serious right now?
I am serious. Again, as always, when we talk about numbers on Sunday, these are estimates. The actuals come out like Monday or Tuesday.
Tomorrow, yeah.
But that is 117 is what we're looking at for Spider-Man: Homecoming this weekend.
There's some more stats to that. Did you happen to read all the?
I heard some of them.
Extra stuff
I can
about it.
See if I can throw it up in front of me right now. But I did hear some of the stats today, and I don't know if I can remember them all. So what? This is the second biggest Spider-Man opening ever, behind I think Spider-Man 3.
Mm-hmm. Second biggest opening for Sony.
Oh yeah,
that's
right.
What I was looking for.
Behind Spider-Man 3.
Yeah,
that's what I was going to add, Bobby. I mean, I saw the same headline you did as second highest opening for Sony Pictures. Like, that's impressive.
Yeah. What else was there?
It was like I think third highest for the year behind Beauty and the Beast, and the first one was Guardians of the Galaxy. So I think that was the other one, and then I thought there was one more, maybe in regards to Marvel movies, where it opened up at something. But yeah, lots of things, good things happening for Sony and Marvel right now.
Indeed, it did quite well. And we've been looking forward to this for a while. I would guess if one of us was looking forward to it more than everyone else, it'd probably be you, Bobby. You're a pretty big Spider-Man fan. And so when did you see it for the first time?
I had a chance to see it Friday afternoon at a 4 o'clock showing, and it was sold out. If it wasn't sold out, it was pretty much close to it. And I saw it in the Dolby, and it was quite the experience seeing it in the Dolby. Actually, it was very colorful, as you would imagine, bright, and it's just
Very loud.
Yeah, but in that good way, not in the overpowering
Right.
sort of way. And I feel like everyone on the podcast and people who have listened for a while know how big of a Spider-Man fan I am. And so for me, this movie coming out was the culmination of what I had been looking forward to for quite a while, because I enjoyed the Tobey Maguire series. Obviously, a lot of people have problems with Spider-Man 3. I have issues with it as well. But I don't tend to bag on it quite as much as most people do. But I do recognize the issues with that one. And then the Andrew Garfield ones, contrary to popular, I guess, opinion, I tend to like those as well. I thought Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man was good. His Peter Parker probably could have used some work, but those movies weren't as bad to me as they were to most people. I definitely didn't like certain aspects of that second one. Everything felt a little bit rushed and trying to put together and forced. And there was things I didn't like about it, but I always maintained that the relationship that they had with Peter, with the love relationship I'm trying to think of, that was always something very solid, and I thought that did a good job of portraying that. And so then we move and flash forward to Sony getting in trouble and then having to sort of go to Marvel and make this deal to where it was like, okay, we're going to use Spider-Man again, sort of reboot him, and then have him part of the MCU. And we get Captain America Civil War with Tom Holland. And that was so impressive in just the little bit of time he was in there, that it just had me on a level of like, okay, already I can feel like this is going to be the definitive version of this character for me. And so now we get to the point where Homecoming is out, and absolutely, I mean, there's no hiding it, there's no secret to it. It's as good as the hype believes it to be. And at least for me, it was just everything that I wanted to see in this character that I've loved for so long with Peter Parker and Spider-Man, because they do such a good job of giving you exactly how Peter Parker's life is, in the way that he's just this teenage kid just trying to survive being a teenager, but yet he has the extra responsibility of also trying to be a hero and live up to this responsibility he feels he has. And so they make that balance done in a way that makes it make sense to you, because you've gone through high school, you know what that feels like. But yet, to add that level of complexity to where it's like, okay, now what do you do when you have all this other stuff thrust upon you? You see the struggle within him, where he wants to be into where he's fitting in high school, but at the same time he feels a greater calling, and so it causes him to miss things and miss out on the experience in certain times and aspects of high school, just like it is in the comic books. So I really thought they just handled it very, very well. The comedy was great in it. Had me laughing a lot of different times. Everything about the villain with Michael Keaton was done well, reminiscent of how I would say what we had in Spider-Man 2 from the end from the Tobey Maguire series with Doctor Octopus. It was that more of a villain where you kind of related to the villain a little bit more than just your typical villain that kind of just comes on screen and is just evil for purposes of being evil. This one had more to him, and I thought that was well done as also. So just like from top to bottom, it was a lot that I loved about this movie, and I will give someone else a chance to talk because I could keep going on and on. So you can go ahead, and anyone else want to jump in there? David, what about you?
All right. I'll start off by, I guess, kind of recapping my experience with Spider-Man, which is, as I've probably said on here a million times, I can no longer say I've never read a comic book from Spider-Man before because I read my first, 2-3 weeks ago. So, but before 2 or 3 weeks ago, I never read a Spider-Man comic ever. I mean, I read some Marvel comics where Spider-Man appeared, I guess, but that was probably it. So really my Spider-Man experience has been the movies. So it's been the Sam Raimi films, was it Mark Webb films with Andrew Garfield? And even though there's definitely some of those films I like I'm in the same boat as you with the Andrew Garfield stuff. I actually enjoyed those movies, even 2. And I know a lot of people love to hate on that second one. But yeah, I like those movies. Sure, I like mostly the first of the Sam Raimi movies. But with all that said, after all that, I've still never had much of a connection to Spider-Man. Spider-Man's just always been he's fine, I guess. But I guess I feel like the best way I can put it is my relation to how I feel about Spider-Man is just kind of indifference as a comic book superhero character. I just I don't really care. There's nothing about him that's appealed to me. I would never,
How dare you?
I would never buy a Spider-Man shirt.
I'm so insulted right now. I'm so offended. I don't even know where to go with this.
Just nothing. And again, it's not that I have any dislike towards Spider-Man. There's never been anything to really get me going. Okay, this guy's awesome. I love this superhero over others.
Can I do my sign off now? Because I really don't feel like talking to you anymore today.
So here we come to Spider-Man Homecoming. And I will admit, going into Spider-Man Homecoming, sure, I was looking forward to the movie. There's no doubt. At the same time, and maybe it is comic book, Marvel film fatigue. There's a part of me that was just okay, I'm going to definitely see it this weekend, but I wasn't pumped. I wasn't oh my God. I mean, I feel like I should have been. I mean, I loved Tom Holland and his portrayal of Spider-Man in Civil War. I thought it was great. So all signs were definitely pointing toward this is going to be a great movie. And I was still just kind of yeah, I'm going to see it. But I wasn't I saw, for instance, I saw it Saturday night. I didn't see it Thursday night. I didn't see it on Friday. So it's not like I was oh my God, got to see the first showing or anything. I mean, I definitely saw it this weekend, but I wasn't overly pumped about it. So I saw it. And right now I'm gonna do something that I didn't get to do after the movie because I don't do this kind of thing in movie theaters.
Oh God, here it goes. Oh my God, is this it?
I'm gonna stand up and applaud.
What?
Oh, wow.
Oh my God, are you
I'm not
serious?
that guy that stands up and and claps at the end of a movie.
No, you are not.
This movie was fucking great. It's not even funny how
Bravo,
good this
David,
movie was.
bravo.
It deserves.
David does not.
I'm gonna still applaud. This movie was that
doesn't.
good. That's how good this
You
shit
guys
was.
have no idea the twinkle in his eye right now.
I was
amazing.
I got this Spider-Man Marvel box because I'm a subscriber to the Star Wars box or whatever, the Funko stuff. And they randomly sent me a Marvel one, and it was full of Spider-Man stuff.
Oh, is that where that came from?
So I
Yeah.
had it up on my shelf in boxes this whole time. So I'm okay, yeah, it's cool, but I never really even took it out of the box. But today I'm I'm going to take this thing out. I'm going to use it now. I like this little guy. Look at Spider-Man. Hey, buddy, I'm going to buy a Spider-Man shirt. I'm going to buy a Spider-Man hat.
Oh, you're all in.
This movie was good.
You're all in I'm in with Wonder Woman now.
Yeah. It was
Wow.
It did it. It worked. I almost have nothing negative to say about this movie. And I say almost, maybe the nitpicky shit, but super nitpicky. Like, it did everything right. It was fun. It just, there was nothing about it that was like, oh, this is dragging. Like, it had a villain in it that, for especially a Marvel movie, and Marvel villains have been kind of and Marvel makes great movies. I've loved a lot of these Marvel films, but the villains have been so, and this was a great villain in this. Like, just like you just said, Bobby. Oh, the movie was so good. Like, I will definitely, I don't get to see many movies twice in a theater, and I'm not going to make any promises, but if I can, I'm definitely seeing this movie again. And it was quite excellent. I was very, very impressed with Spider-Man Homecoming. Wow. You seem shocked, Michelle. You give me a look.
Michelle, did you watch it with David?
No, we didn't see this movie together.
No.
Yeah. It was weird, too, because I'm so used to seeing movies with you, Michelle, and we don't talk about the movies afterwards. And now it's just, I'm just totally used to it. It would feel weird to talk about a movie right afterwards with you at this point. Just because.
You know what? I think it kind of would be. I mean, there's definitely been times when I have been slightly tempted to, and there's been times where I've kind of been like, it's hard. Like, sometimes I'll just say like a word, and you'll just kind of nod. And I think that's the most conversation we might have about a film. And even that, like, it has to be something pretty up there. But like, now I'm kind of used to not talking about it. Like, I'm used to waiting to see what you say.
Right.
We never talk about it.
I'm so used to it. Again, I think it would be odd to. And for instance, I saw it with another friend, and right afterwards, she immediately reacts and starts talking about it. So do I to her. But I'm like, this feels odd. Like, I feel like I shouldn't be doing this.
Oh yeah.
Like, I don't talk about movies anymore right afterwards, because usually you and I see them together, and it felt odd.
So we surprise each other.
Even with somebody else, it felt weird. I'm like, I feel like I shouldn't be doing this. I feel like I shouldn't be talking about the movie. Like, I should be saving this, but whatever. Yeah, I don't even know what else to say. It was that good. Everything about it. I was worried, not really worried, that maybe there could be a little too much Iron Man in it, and it might be too much of like a team up film. It's not, thank God. And I love Iron Man. I think Iron Man's great. But I feel like he's in it just the right amount. Yeah. We talked about how, when we saw the stuff in Hall H last summer, really they had just started shooting, and it seems like all they had been shooting really was high school stuff. And, that's really the sizzle reel that they put together and showed us really was just high school stuff for the most part. And they even talked about how it's going to have this almost kind of John Hughes kind of feel. But then every trailer we have seen that was pushed out to the public since then did not have that look about it. Sure, you saw some footage and stuff from him being in high school, but it didn't have that feel. And part of me was like, oh, is it really still going to have that? And it does. Like, it's definitely a mixture, obviously. I mean, it's a Spider-Man movie, but, it's a high school movie, too. I don't know. I really, really dug it. So, yeah, that's my thoughts without getting into spoilers, and maybe we'll do that later. But, yeah, I liked Spider-Man.
And now that you're reading the comic, it kind of like, you can kind of see that parallel, because the comic obviously being the source material, and in the comics he's older. I probably would say late 20s, early 30s maybe at this point, but you see that he still retains that core of who he's always been in the comics, in the comic book, and you can kind of see that that's what we're starting to get now within this series. So I like the fact that the comic is starting to reflect back to what it was so many years ago, because it had gotten away from it, but now it's sort of bringing that aspect back, and the comic is fun.
Yeah. And I definitely have questions for you guys when we do talk spoilers, which we might do as a separate episode. But yeah, Anyway, Yasha, when did you see it? How many times have you seen it now? What'd you think?
I have officially seen the movie twice. And I mean, what can I say that Bobby really didn't say, and that you actually didn't say either, David? I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. Obviously, I went to go see it a second time. I thought the movie was just fantastic. I was really, really probably second only to Bobby as to how excited I was to see this movie. I went Thursday night, which I don't typically do. And the reason I don't is because I like to get up super early the next day, and I usually have to get up and start my day and whatnot. But I went Thursday night, and then I went again Saturday to go see this movie, mostly just to stay cool because it was incredibly hot out here. But
Yeah,
anyways.
it was.
But also because I just love the movie. Like Bobby said, I mean, I enjoyed the Tobey Maguire series. I enjoyed Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. I thought he did a really good job. I'm not a huge fan of what they did to some of the characters in the second movie with Andrew Garfield. I really, really dug the first one that he did. And like Bobby, you know, exactly what he said. A lot of people like to hate on the third one with Tobey Maguire. I appreciated it for what it was. That being said, going into this one with Tom Holland, I mean, I feel like they just got it right. And it was Marvel to the rescue. And Marvel was like, let us show you how to do a Spider-Man movie. And they just lit it up, set things up, lots of comedy, lots of drama. It was the villain. I thought his backstory was absolutely perfect and just enough energy for it and just enough attention to it to know exactly pardon me, where he's coming from and where he's going, what his motivations were. Surprises, and then I'm sure we'll get into in spoilers, but I thought this movie was fantastic. I mean, pardon me, there's only a few things that I might be able to gripe about, but it's really nitpicky, and it's to the point where you don't even need to nitpick on some of that stuff. And just accept it for what it is when it comes to the changing of the tide, if you will, when it comes to certain characters in the movie. But overall, I loved it. I thought it was a fantastic movie. And to be honest, I could probably sit through it a third time in the movie theater. Mm-hmm. I really, really dug this movie. But I mean, I'm a huge Spider-Man fan like Bobby. And I mean, there's far and in between when we have conversations about movies that we don't agree, and it's far and in between when it comes even further when it comes to Spider-Man movies, because we're both huge fans and have read the comics and know the characters and look for the Easter eggs or the things that they're trolling us with or the little teases. And this movie just didn't disappoint. I really, really dug everything about this movie when him coming to age and working towards what he wants and not wanting to be a kid and grow up too fast. I mean, the movie was just fantastic. I can't rave enough about it. And I've told everybody that I've talked to about this film, I was like, yeah, you absolutely need to go see this movie. It is a lot of fun and you will appreciate this in a whole. So yeah, I dug the hell out of the movie. And to echo what you did, David, it's like, bravo, Marvel, bravo. It's like, they did a damn good job and they killed it.
Well, Michelle, you were the most recent person to see it. You saw it, this afternoon?
I did.
You did. What did you think, Spider-Man Homecoming?
I'm going to take another swig of my liquid courage here.
Liquid courage.
Okay. I liked it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I'm clearly not as exuberant, as excited as you guys are. I really liked it. It's an enjoyable, fun film. And I feel like overall, the storyline was really great. And I feel like their villain was quite spectacular. That stood out hard. And it was something that really needed to be established that I feel none of the other Spider-Man films had established well enough in the previous ones. And I realize it's not Marvel, but whatever. And it was definitely one of the best well-established Marvel villains, quite honestly. And I don't know. I had fun. I've got issues. And they're all spoilers, so I can't even really talk about it right now. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I was happy. I was entertained. It was at the end of the film, I was like, that was done well. That was really done well. That was, thank God, definitely the best Spider-Man film for sure, like hands down. But I'm definitely not as exuberant as you guys are, so I feel kind of like, oh, but I feel like I'm like, oh, but you know, I'm not saying do not go see this film. It is spectacular in the fact that it's the best Spider-Man film that's been made, and it's definitely the closest thing I think to really fully capturing the spirit of who Peter Parker is and the storyline that he has. And the story is done well. It is like I like the way it all unfolded on the screen, but I have issues.
So you're saying you have issues. Are you saying, since you're saying there's spoilers and you don't want to talk about them yet, are you saying your issues are related to the fact that, like, say, as a Spider-Man fan, you things that they did that you don't like choices they made as a Spider-Man fan?
I think there were some choices that they made, certain things that would happen, and I was like, wow, that's slightly out of character. Not out of character, I would say out of certain feelings the way that Spider-Man has. Spider-Man's comic is, especially in his earlier years, is not the same feeling as reading an Iron Man comic. And I feel like there's some things I was like, wow, that was way harsh. Like, and I'm saying harsh. I don't know. There were just things I was like, wow, that just doesn't seem quite fitting with the mood of the way this is going. Like, that seems very out of the setting mood that they have created here. Like, and they would just be really stark all of a sudden. And I'd literally be like, oh, and I would literally jolt back in my seat like, Jesus, that's not, wow. Yeah, there's a few things that were, and nothing was actually like Peter Parker. It was stuff other people were doing. And I was like, wow, okay, yeah. But overall, I am very happy with this film. I think it was done well. It's a little long for my taste, I'll be honest. I feel like every time Marvel puts out a film, they're like, well, we got to add at least 2 more minutes. Oh yeah, we got to outdo the last one. And we're slowly built into this point where we're watching films that are 2 hours and 14 minutes long. And I'm like, there's some stuff they could chop a little bit. Like, there's just things I'm like, we're getting long, kids. But really, I mean, overall, I'm very happy. So I'm saying I'm extremely happy with the film. I'm just not as exuberant about it, I think, as you guys are.
I feel like you're holding back because you're scared we're going to attack you or something. You could say you didn't like it.
I feel like you are too, a little bit. Like, you're just like, you feel like, okay, I'm going to tell you guys how I feel, but I don't want to get jumped here at the end of this. So let me just
I don't want them to kick me off the show.
That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. But I want you to know, I'm saying, like, I feel like, I don't want you to be like, man, she hated it. I did not hate it. I really enjoyed it. Like, I had fun. Like, it does what the type of a movie is supposed to do. Like, I felt happy at the end. Like, everything went well for the most part for me. There was just mood things that they did to certain characters and certain things that would happen. I was just like, this just seems very jarring to me based on what I've seen in the last 20 minutes. And all of a sudden it was like, Jesus, like, wow, I don't know.
I mean, yeah, I'll know without knowing what you're talking about, like what you're saying just then, I can say I definitely did not have that experience at all. Like, I never had anything happen in the movie that was, I mean, sure, as soon as you said the jarring thing, one scene popped up. I won't say what it was, but and I will say in that particular scene, I mean, the nice thing about it is kind of, it feels like the reality of, hey, this kid's having fun, blah, 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 in a way, and he's awesome. But at the same time, there's a lot of danger and, repercussions and, such with what you're doing. And I know I'm talking very vaguely, but yeah, all I could say is, I mean, I definitely had no experience any time in the movie where I was like, oh, that seems out of character. Or that seems kind of jarring. Like, no, not at all.
And at the same time, like, I'm saying this, and I know that when we go into spoilers and I start pointing these things out, you're going to be like, Michelle, this is really nitpicky. And I don't feel like it's nitpicky, and I'll give my explanation of why I don't feel it's nitpicky. But again, all of this is literally so spoiled. I can't even talk about it. Like, that's why I'm like, I can't even defend myself right now because my defense is...
No, I get it.
It's all in spoilers. So, but...
And yeah, I'll say too, like, again, I mentioned everything I mentioned, before I said what I said because of, hey, this is where I come into a Spider-Man movie from. I mean, pretty much all I know is the movies.
Right.
And sure, there are, creative decisions made in the movie that even me as someone who is not a, Spider-Man kind of expert knows that, oh, okay, this is different. But I will say, like, from my perspective, not being someone who is, like, so familiar with all of the canon, that none of that bothered me. Like, I definitely can give that point of view of, for those of us who don't kind of feel like, oh, man, this needs to be, this needs to really honor Spider-Man and, be, not stray too far from the character, I can say that I definitely had no problems with anything, like, whatsoever. And I can get why I'll definitely have some questions for you, Bobby, and the rest of you guys. Like, so what did you guys think of this? Because I know I thought it was great, but I could see that maybe you didn't like this or that. But, it's all spoiler stuff.
And Bobby's definitely going to be the most knowledgeable on this because I think he's read the most recently. Like, when it comes to my knowledge of Spider-Man is from what I read in comics in the late 80s and throughout the 90s. And those are the Spider-Man comics I read. And I used to watch the really old cartoon that they had, and like that is my Spider-Man knowledge comic-wise base. So I'm not as fresh on what they've done recently, I will fully admit. But and I can't even get into it. And I'm saying all this, like, if I were Rotten Tomatoes and I gave this movie a percentage of how rotten it was, I mean, like, at like 93%. Like, it was excellent. Like, it was good. Like, I just can't give it 100. It sounds like you guys are at like 98, 99%. And I'm like, I'm back here on like 92, 93. And that's, so when I'm giving this kind of like a backlash, I feel like I'm just much lower in happiness than you guys are. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay.
Lower in happiness. That's
no,
awesome.
I get it.
I'm on the lower end of your all's happiness, if that makes sense to you.
We're all happy,
No.
but
It makes sense.
Okay. That's where I'm at.
that's cool.
Okay.
Well, we'll definitely talk spoilers. Not as part of this show. We'll probably we'll talk about it after we record this. Do it as a bonus
Special little
episode.
spoiler show. It could be a short little thing, just for people that are like, I'm curious to see what they're talking about. Or do I agree or do I disagree? I don't know what that's about, by the way. I'm just making noises now. No idea where that came from. I do know where that came from.
I know if I wanted to get nitpicky about the movie, and my nitpicky thing is I really don't feel like it's spoilery. And I say this only because you see him wearing that costume in the trailers. So, obviously you see that in some point in the movie, in the trailer, he's wearing like a raggedy, like homemade version of his suit. And
that's like what he had before Tony gave it to him in this
exactly.
in Civil War.
So it's not a spoiler to mention that he wears that at some point in the film. And hear me out when I say what I'm going to say. But like, I did have a reaction a little bit to the fact that I'm like, oh, the white of his eyes can still like animate, like in these goggles that he's wearing. And I get that he's smart, and I get that he's totally capable of, doing whatever that effect is that he makes his mask do that. But at the same time, when you look at the rest of the outfit, it's like it's a sweatshirt, and, and like it seemed. That would be if there were anything in the movie that I reacted to of, oh, that's a little, I don't know, like, was that? But I'm saying that in the sense of, if you had a gun to my head and you're like, David, pick something you didn't like about this film, I'd be like, oh, I guess it was that. But otherwise, I've got nothing.
Right. The fact that he had that and it was supposed to be a suit that he would have had before Tony's suit.
Right.
And I can almost feel like, this isn't spoilery. I almost feel like maybe he had made those as a backup for an emergency situation with his old suit. Like he was like, oh, that's a really cool thing. I should try to make that myself because I'm smart and I'm scientific and I like tinkering with things. Maybe he was like, let me see if I can do that. And then he did, and he held on to him for whatever situation. I don't know.
I think he explained it in Civil War. I think. I remember him saying something about the fact that he was getting overloaded, his sensory overload, so he had to make those goggles to sort of cut down on a lot of the stuff that was kind of coming his way. And I don't recall if they squinted like that, because it was obviously really quick in the Civil War where they showed him when he had that suit on, but they did mention it, the fact that he did create it. And obviously in Civil War, they also touched on the fact that he, just kind of grabs junk and is able to sort of make stuff out of it, that because he is smart, but he's definitely no seamstress, so he probably wouldn't know how to sew a complete suit in a good way. But that's basically my sort of take on it.
Yeah. And again, I'm saying it like, I don't know.
It's the only thing you can really.
Really, that's trying.
This is what I'm saying. If you're Rotten Tomatoes, you're at like 98%, and I'm down at like 92.
Yeah, Sure. I mean, after I saw it and I was so happy with it, there was a part of me that was like, all right, like there's been a lot of Marvel movies now, but if I had to like place it in the pantheon of Marvel films, where would I put it? But I couldn't yet. I've only seen it once. And I just don't think it's fair to like a movie that is so fresh and I've only seen it one time to try to stick it in there somewhere. But I can tell you for damn sure, it is way, way the fuck up. Like,
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
easily.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it may not, I'm not saying it's number one necessarily, but maybe after seeing it a couple more times,
Top 3.
it's not out of the realm of possibility. Like I thought it was that good.
There's still one that I think clearly is just always going to be my number one. And I just don't know if it's going to waver on that when it comes to the Marvel ones.
Which is?
Iron Man.
Okay.
I just don't know. I don't know if I'm ever going to waver on that. Like, I feel like I'm just like, nope, still Iron Man. Number one.
It's kind of like how I feel.
I'm like, that's just how it is.
It's kind of like how I feel with Pixar movies and the original Toy Story. Like
it's gonna be Toy
I love
Story.
that, and even though I can look back at it and go, well, maybe it's not that good, but it still has this nostalgic value too. And I mean, but Iron Man is that good. I agree with you. Iron Man's excellent.
I still think Toy Story is that good.
Like, I agree. Don't get me wrong. It
obviously,
is.
technology is completely, accelerated from that. But I can still look at Toy Story and go, nope, solid film, number one Pixar film, period. Done. Like, I stand by those two choices in those two categories.
I mean, yeah, the first Avengers is a great, so that's right up there. But this was, again, even though I knew it would be good, even though from what we saw Spider-Man in Civil War, I was like, okay, this version of Spider-Man's great. I was still, like, basically all I'll say is within the first, it was one of those situations, I've talked about this before, where like a movie will start sometimes and you can just tell by the way the first 5-10 minutes, you're like, you know what, this is going to be excellent. This was the case. Like, first 10 minutes or so, especially the first bit of you seeing Spider-Man in the movie, or just even Peter Parker, I will say, I was like, yes, whatever the fuck this is going to be great. I did.
Yeah,
it was
agreed.
It opened so well,
It really did.
So
I don't mean to just jump on your bandwagon but
please.
I really just agree with you 100% when it comes to that. That's what I thought too.
So I mean, yeah, without talking spoilers, that's all I got. Is I can just sit here and gush about it all day, but I'm not going to give details. So I thought it was great. I think we all thought it was great to a degree. That's what it sounds like.
Yes.
But yeah, we'll talk spoilers for sure, and we'll record it right after this. We'll do it as a separate bonus little thing, so look out for that. You look like you have something to say, Michelle.
Super off topic.
What?
It's about a trailer.
Ooh, that reminds me too, but I wonder if you're going to bring up the same trailer. So something you saw before Spider-Man? Mm-hmm. Because there was a trailer I saw before Spider-Man.
Have you seen it before?
No. Well, at least this trailer that I saw before Spider-Man, I had never seen. And I was watching it thinking, is this for real? Like,
oh, I know what you're talking about.
Is this actually a thing?
I had sent the first trailer for that film to you guys, and all of us were like, WTF. But I will get to that conversation in a second.
I guess I never watched it because I'd never seen it until...
Oh, okay.
What are you talking about?
Hold on. I will get there. Patience.
So what do
Okay,
you have,
so
Michelle?
my thing is... And this trailer came out a week or so ago. And I remember watching it. And my reaction was, WTF, my childhood is ruined. I can't believe they accomplished this. It looks like hell. And so I'm with a friend in the theater today, right? Watching Spider-Man. And he had not seen this trailer. And he sees this trailer and he's like, did they just reach down my throat, pull my heart out, throw it on the floor, and then stamp on it? I was like, yep, they did. That happened. And he's like, I feel horrific right now. I'm like, I know. He's like, but they... And I'm like, I know. And he's like, I'm like, I know. And he's like, but I'm like, just... You're going to have to let all the feelings happen. And it's really hard. The new Jumanji trailer. Oh, sweet baby Jesus. This is horrific. Horrific. That's all I gotta say. And it was just funny because I was like, I said nothing. And he's watching this and I'm waiting for his reaction. And he's like, you could see. He was just like, what? I'm like, I know. Let all the feelings take over you and work them out. It takes time. There's going to be a time of healing. You just have to work it through. It's horrific. It's absolutely the worst thing I've ever seen in my entire life. And I'm just like, I can't believe this is
Wow.
That's bad.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll say you're talking about like a connection to childhood. I have no childhood connection to Jumanji, like whatsoever.
And even then, I say childhood connection, and I'm not even referring to the Robin Williams film Jumanji, the book. I read the book as a kid.
I get what you're saying.
I loved that book. Like, it was one of my favorite childhood books when I was learning to read. Like, it was a spectacular book. And then, yeah, the Robin Williams film came out, and there's a lot of issues with that movie, and it's not a great movie, but Robin Williams is quite good in it, and then the storyline was close to the way the book goes. This is a departure and a quote-unquote update that I just cannot get on board with, and I'm glad that I'm not the only person that feels this way. And so, like, having that reaction kind of happen throughout the theater as I heard people groan and roll over in their seats, I was like,
really?
Thank you, Jesus. It's not just me.
I was just going to say, of all the trailers I saw in front of Spider-Man, the most laughs came from Jumanji.
Oh, God.
I kid you not.
I agree. I second that.
And my theater was a full theater.
So was mine.
It got the most probably positive reaction of every trailer that played in front of that movie.
Well, all right, so that's Jumanji. So the movie you're talking about...
Well, hey, I'm not done with Jumanji.
Do you think this might be another bomb for The Rock then? Because, I mean, it looks that... I mean, I'm kind of on board with you with that. It looks incredibly cheesy, corny, a real departure from what the movie was the first time around. I never read the book, but I know that it is like a huge departure. Do you think this is going to be a second bomb for The Rock? Because he's been the Hollywood go-to guy for a while now with movies that I think are performing better than they expected, except for Baywatch, which was just a huge bomb in the theater and just got crucified by critics. And then it just didn't perform either. I mean, it performed overseas, so it's made its money back. But I mean, I watched this and I saw the trailer for Jumanji as well, and I was just like, maybe, but not really kind of thing. You know, I like Jack Black, and I like Kevin Hart, and I like all the actors that are in it, but it just doesn't have me sold on it yet either. So do you think this might be a second bomb for him?
And I mean, I don't have a crystal ball or anything. And this is also gut-wrenching to say, I don't think it's going to be a bomb for him. I think this might actually pull out. Yeah, surpringly, this might actually be not a bad thing for him. I don't know.
I'm with you on that because I can see where you're coming from with that, because I think that if he plays a character really kind of out of context for what he's used to playing.
Right.
I mean, I know he's supposed to be this hero and he's going to be this badass in the movie, but if
he's
he
an avatar,
shows glimpses of his alter ego, of the personality that he's transferred in from, like, that could be really funny. Because I thought that he did that one with Kevin Hart, the secret agent one, Central Intelligence, and I thought he was hilarious in that one, and that was mostly because he played a character that was kind of off the cuff of what we're used to seeing him play.
And I think that's what it's going to be. That, and it's funny, I will say, from what I've seen in the trailer, if I were to agree, like, where's the highlight in this trailer? Surprisingly, Jack Black might honestly pull it out a little bit for this film, because he's a female inside of a male's body, basically, because it's an avatar situation. And so he says the girliest of girliest millennial things that come out of a mouth, and he's like the most like average dude looking dude ever. So that's going to get a lot of laughs. It's going to. And oh, God help me. I think that movie's actually going to do not well, but at least decent. It'll make its money back in the U.S.
Well, I'll just say real quick, as someone who has no childhood connection to Jumanji, I mean, don't get me wrong, I agree with you that it doesn't look like a particularly good
action.
Doesn't look like a particularly good movie. I will probably not see it in the theater, but I mean, yeah, like if I were scrolling through Netflix one day and was like, oh, okay, I'll watch this just to see if it actually ended up being entertaining or not. Like, I don't know. I think it just looks kind of whatever. It doesn't look that bad. But I couldn't care less about the Robin Williams movie. Really never read the book, so that's where I stand. Anyway.
I never read the book, but I mean, I was 18 when I saw the Robin Williams one, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun movie for what it was. I mean, I thought the special effects were very cool, and I got into the movie. So I mean, I liked it for what it was back then, and I mean, I would probably watch it again today. But there's no real connection, like Michelle, like you have with this movie and the reading the book and whatnot.
Yeah, it's the book for me. But I know for some people it is the movie. There are some people that are younger than me and it is the movie. Like my friend is younger than me. And for him, the connection was the movie. He was like, that was one of my favorite films growing up. It was one of my favorite books reading when I was a kid. I'm like, dude, I'm with you. Like, I'm there. So, yeah.
No, the trailer, yeah. I'd never seen that trailer for Geostorm. And that trailer started... And it really, at first, I'm like, is this one of those trailers like the AMC made is like a parody trailer kind of thing? Like
God,
they're gonna teach us something about how to exit the theater.
I wish that were true.
Like, is this real? Like that's really what I was sitting in the theater thinking. I'm like, oh my god, like is this the late '90s like again, or what is happening right now?
hell, mid early '90s. Jesus, it's bad.
Is anybody wanting a movie like this right
I was
now?
so surprised when I saw that because I knew nothing about that trailer. I know what you're talking about now, and I'm just like, I watched it with you, and I'm with you. I was just like, what in holy hell is this? When did we ask for this crap? Like, I'm confused.
And yeah, I mean, for anyone listening who doesn't know, I'll read the IMDb description. When the network of satellites designed to control the global climate start to attack Earth, it's a race against the clock to uncover the real threat before a worldwide geostorm wipes out everything and everyone. Gerard Butler is the lead in this. Ed Harris is in it. Who else? Jim Sturgis.
How much money did they throw at Gerard Butler to do this? I mean, the millions of dollars they throw at him to be like, yeah, I'll do this piece of crap. I'm down with it. You don't want my cool accent, my cool strut? It's going to cost you.
Yeah. All right. Real quick, or not real quick.
Bobby,
but,
what did you think of that?
Oh yeah, did you see the Geostorm?
Yeah, I've seen it. The first trailer actually looked kind of interesting because it was just mostly action scenes and hardly much talking, and it just showed something that looked like another end of the world scenario kind of movie that they can be fun on the surface of them, but you don't expect much from them. And so that was the initial impression, but this second trailer, it's pretty awful. It makes you not want to see it at all. And I had a slight glimmer of interest before with the original trailer, but this second one is just like, this is awful. I mean, this is just, I'll just watch the scenes where the destruction is happening and not even watch any of the dialogue scenes. Just fast forward past that, just watch the destruction scenes, because it didn't look good at all.
Yeah.
All right.
So what else? I watched another movie this week, Personal Shopper. Have you guys, why the eye roll?
I don't really have a major desire to see that film.
Oh. So I'm curious, you saw a trailer for it?
Yes, but I haven't seen the trailer in a while, and it's funny because
I can't remember if you and I talked about this after I saw it.
Right, so I had kind of forgotten what the trailer was about. There's a whole section of the trailer I clearly forgot until you brought it up that you'd see the film. Then you talked about the section of the film, and I was like, oh yeah, it was kind of mentioned in the trailer ever so slightly. It's weird.
So yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm pretty sure I saw a trailer for it, but it was more like I just heard about the movie kind of on the internet, and I started to be interested in the fact that, I'm hearing that, maybe Kristen Stewart's actually pretty good in this. And so basically she plays a personal shopper for a woman in Paris. I mean, she goes out and buys her clothes for her, and she doesn't see her all the time. A lot of times she just like drops the clothes off in her apartment. She gets paid from an envelope or whatever. And obviously with the title, like that, going into it when I finally watched it at home the other day, that's kind of what I thought the majority of the film was about. And there's basically like kind of three different things going on in this movie. And like one of them is it jumps right into it right at the beginning of the film. And I was like, I didn't know this was a ghost story. And I guess maybe I forgot the trailer if it talked about that in the trailer, like completely. Like I just did not know that. And I mean, that is a big part of this film. And not only that, but it's like part ghost story, part kind of part personal shopper story, and then part like kind of stalker film. And I would say for that reason, because it is like kind of 3-4 different things kind of going on all at once with your one character, It made the film interesting to me. I actually thought it was pretty good. I mean, for anyone wondering, oh wow, is Kristen Stewart like really good in this? Is like, does she just like pull it out of nowhere and suddenly like, you know, do this great acting job? She is good in the film. I mean, you'll still watch it and probably feel like she's basically kind of playing Kristen Stewart, like she does a lot. I think she's just one of those type of actresses. I don't think that means that she's a bad actress. I think that just she doesn't have a wide range, and you know. But I mean, I will say of everything I've seen her in, this is probably one of her best performances for sure. But yeah, just because this director seemed to be trying to do like so many different things in one film, it made the film interesting to me. So I actually liked it. I mean, it was rated like in the 70% on Rotten Tomatoes, so it's rated fairly high. But anyway, if anyone's curious, you can rent it now. Personal shopper. I mean, this is one of those movies, and this happens all the time. I think it was actually like booed at Cannes, but there's lots of films that ended up being quite good. That kind of shit happens to a Cannes, so I don't know what I would, how much I'd buy into that. But anyway, just thought I'd mention it.
No, I'm curious now. I mean, definitely. I think I'd heard about the movie, but you definitely sold me on it, so I will definitely check that out.
I'll be curious to know what you think. I mean, and again, I'm not saying like, oh, wow, everyone needs to see this. Because, I mean, I will agree. It's definitely not for everybody. I think, you know, one person will watch it and probably really like it. And the next person will be like, oh, my God, are you kidding me? That was terrible. Like, so, yeah, I'll be curious to know where you land on this, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, moving on. I'm curious, Bobby. You got picked for our I Challenge You segment last week. For those new to this, in this segment, one person on the podcast will challenge another to watch something that they haven't seen before for whatever reason. Either they didn't want to see it, they just never got around to it. Who knows why? But Michelle, you challenged Bobby to watch, I believe it was Grand Budapest Hotel, the Wes Anderson film. I believe you saw it, Bobby. Is that true?
I did see it, yeah.
What did you think?
Well, so yeah, as you sort of mentioned, there was some movies in my my large amount that I've seen that I have some holes in, and Wes Anderson movies. There's been a few that I have not seen, and the Grand Budapest Hotel was one of them. So I had a chance to watch it, and I guess I should probably describe it a little bit. It's about this concierge at a hotel called the Grand Budapest Hotel, and it's sort of like he gets into this wild adventure, and he's also played by Ray Fiennes, and one of the people that is sort of kind of telling this story is F. Murray Abraham, and he's playing this character that's like the hotel bellboy, and he's a young kid who's sort of being mentored by the Ray Fiennes character, who's Mr. Gustav, I think his name is. And so this movie is so different, and it moves in a way that was so weird. And when I watched it, I was tired. And so I ended up watching and I was like, what the hell did I just watch? Like, what is this? And I was really put off by it because I didn't understand anything I had saw. I was like, what is going on in this movie? And I realized I was like, I was tired when I saw it. So I actually end up doing something that I rarely ever do, which is watch a movie for a second time, especially one that I'm thinking I didn't like. And so I was like, well, maybe I didn't give it a fair shake. So I watched it a second time, and I ended up enjoying it a lot more the second time I watched it. I don't know if I was able to pick out more of what was going on, but either way, I did end up enjoying it. Wes Anderson, he's an interesting guy in the sense that as far as a director goes, he has such a visual style, and the way he frames his shots and the way they're just filmed in general, everything feels so just askew of what regular life is like. It's just some sort of filtered kind of through a different type of lens, and I don't mean literally, but just in terms of life. It just sort of a off kilter look at somebody's life or something about it, and it's hyper realized in a way that is interesting because I don't think I really know anyone else I can compare his work to. It's very distinctive. And that was the initial thing that I had recognized from seeing it the first time. But then the second time when I watched it, I really got into the actual story of it. And this Ray Fiennes character who plays this concierge, it's almost like a interesting type of murder mystery because this character gets involved in this whole storyline, and you kind of you're kind of taken on this ride with this character as he tries to figure out what's happened. And it's also about this hotel, and it all kind of ties in together in a way that is very unexpected, but yet I thought it was done very well. So I was pleasantly surprised the second time I watched it and how much I actually enjoyed it and was able to pick up on some of the nuances, but also just the aspect of what was going on in general. Because I really, that first time, I was just like, I was dumbfounded. I was like, wow, like, what do Michelle and David see in this movie? I don't see it. And so I was like, okay, I got to give it a second try. And that was the trick for me. I was able to see it a second time, and it was just so different and so weird, but in a good way, because it's something that you just don't really generally see in movies, and it's so distinctive in the way that this voice comes from this movie that is unlike most things that you go to the movie to go see. And everyone in it is like some of his usual cast of characters that I saw. I mean, I guess, like, I don't think it's spoiling anything. War movie has been out this long, but like Bill Murray pops up, and then you have Jeff Goldblum in there, Harvey Keitel. It's like Edward Norton. It's like a who's who of different people. And I know some of these people he's worked with in the past as well, Owen Wilson. And so it's like seeing these faces in just these different little spots, like, oh, hey. And then the way they kind of interconnect everything just is I keep going back to the way that it looks, because there's these scenes, and I don't even know what it's called, but he seems to favor a lot of wide angle shots, but then they do this thing where it's sort of I don't know if it's almost like a storybook or something, because it
Like an
slides
animation.
left or slides right, and there's part more of the scene that you see. And it's an interesting way of actually filming it and telling a story, but it's very different, and I actually appreciated that part of it, even right away when I was watching it. Michelle, what were you going to say? Or you said something?
No, at first I thought you were talking about like the random animation that he does, kind of
Oh,
that he interjects throughout it. But now I know what you're talking about, the pan left and the pan right that he'll
Yeah.
do to kind of widen the scope of the scene. It is unique, and that's one of the things I really enjoy about his films. And yeah, his films are quirky. They're quirky as hell, and sometimes
Very
the
much.
storylines are kind of, I guess I don't want to say convoluted, but you sometimes have to really focus. And this is one where you kind of really, you got to be in a certain mindset, and you have to really kind of
Yeah.
focus on what's happening. But if you're there, it's worth it. The payout is worth it in the end, I think, to me.
Yeah.
I've always felt like watching his movies is almost like watching a live action play or a movie that filming a play as it's going on, because it's almost like one shot type of scenes or one angle. There's not too many different, panning scenes with one character. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Like
Yeah.
with the panning left and the panning right for the character, like a storybook type of thing,
Mm.
or a storyboard, and he's just constantly moving the storyboard, and then the storyboard just kind of comes to life for you while you're watching it. That's kind of what I get from when I watched his movies. And I thoroughly enjoyed the movie as well. So I'm glad that you liked it, Bobby.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
super stoked that
sure.
you liked it, Bobby.
Yeah, I'm glad I watched it a second time, because realizing
Me
and
too,
knowing
me
that I was
too.
tired when I was watching, I was like, yeah, I had to watch it a second time.
I'm glad you gave it a second shot. And like, I mean, I'll be honest, like I still want to watch Looper a second time. Like, and I enjoyed it the first time, but it took a while. But yeah, this is a fun segment to do because it kind of gives you a different appreciation for a film that, yeah, like not necessarily you didn't want to see, but never got the opportunity to, and you were like, I'm kind of interested. And now it's like, oh well, I'm seeing it finally. This is happening, and it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
So you get to challenge somebody now, Bobby.
Yeah, so I guess, well, everybody's had a chance except for you, David. So I guess I will be challenging you at this point.
You got a busy week, dude.
Sweet. I got
And
this.
so my challenge movie is kind of keeping in line with stuff that's been a recent theme in terms of we all have these little holes in parts. And so now for you, you've watched Snowpiercer, you've seen Okja, and there's one other film in the whole of Joon-ho Bong's movies that you haven't seen yet. Which is The Host.
Yep.
Yep.
You haven't seen The Host. I've always wanted to see The Host. I missed it. One of those I missed.
I didn't see it either.
So you were a big fan of The Host? I can't remember if we talked about it.
I remember when it came out and hearing a lot of buzz about it. And I don't think I saw it initially when it came out. I think I may have seen it like a year or so later. Like it came out in 2006. And so I don't recall seeing it that same year. It was later. And I remember thinking, oh, yeah, I really did enjoy it. And as we sort of started doing the podcast, I had brought it up a couple different times. And I know you hadn't still gotten around to seeing it. And so I was like, oh, well, we were talking about the movies that the director Joon-ho has done. And so I was like, okay, well, there's still one movie, at least I know, that David hasn't seen that would kind of round out that trilogy of movies. So that was The Host. And I was like, okay, let's do this.
I'll look forward to it. At least you didn't pick something I'm like, oh, God, you can make me watch that. I don't know what that would have been. But
No, I feel like we're going to get to that point with each other later.
Yeah, I feel like we're
Right
being
now,
really
we're being
kind
very-
right now. We're letting him go, oh,
nice.
that film you never got to see, but you wanted to see, but never got to see? Well, I'm going to make you watch that. We're like, oh, thank God. And then 1 week, we're just going to give each other, 1 month, we're just going to be like, all right, here comes the shitstorm. So, Michelle, you never watch those Fast and Furious films. I'll be like, kiss my butt.
time to talk about Pacific Rim, Michelle.
Oh, my God.
It's coming. Just keep looking at that poster right there on the wall.
Oh, I know it's coming. That's the sad part. Like, I know it's
Kaiju are
coming.
coming for you.
I know between
But you have
Pacific
a
Rim
poster
and
of
Fast and
Pacific
Furious.
Rim?
Oh, it's literally almost basically above my head, guys.
I have a Mondo print for our Pacific Rim. It is the largest print on this
It
wall
is
right
the
next to
largest
us.
print on this wall.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So between Pacific Rim and Fast and Furious, I know the shitstorms are coming my way soon.
Oh, it's coming.
I know
Sooner or
it.
later, it's going to get to a point where it's just punishment. It's like,
Oh, it
I
is.
challenge you. And you're like, oh God, no.
We're all gonna hate it so much. 1 month. 1 month this is gonna happen. It's gonna go down. I feel like September, we're finally gonna be done being nice to each other. We're gonna be like, all right, kids, welcome to the fall of hell.
Welcome to the Thunderdome, bitch.
Welcome to the autumn of your nightmares. Shit's going down now. Sorry, I'm done now.
No. Yeah, The Host. I will watch that. I'll try to watch it by next week. And I'm sure we'll be all talking about and seeing and then talking about War for the Planet of the Apes next week. Somebody over here has a movie she has to watch before that.
I know. I'm well aware.
You still haven't seen the second film.
Dude, I literally on my to rent thing, it's #1 starred and highlighted, and I'm like, I've got to watch this before next weekend or I'm in so much trouble.
Yeah, you got to do that.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
Michelle.
I know, I'm aware.
We won't beat up on you. We know. So yeah, I'm sure we'll all be talking about that next week. I'll watch The Host before then. And we're going to get out of here. And yeah, we'll be sticking around right after we finish this up. We'll talk a little more detail about Spider-Man Homecoming, talk spoilers. So look out for that bonus episode to be released pretty close to this one right afterwards. Always look out for our show on iTunes, on Google Play Music, on our iHeartRadio app. And you can always just find us on wherever you listen to podcasts. Just search for Flicker Effect. That's 2 words. Make sure to subscribe. And if you like us, comment over on iTunes. It'll help people find the show. So we'd really appreciate that.
That'd be great.
That would be great.
We would love that.
So yeah, I'm David Lott.
I'm Bobby Jackson.
I'm Yasha Wilson.
And I'm Michelle Curry.
Thanks for listening.